Hey everyone, it's Miss Spencer. We're going to be doing lesson 4. Today, students will be able to compare numbers when they are represented in standard form. We will be doing this by watching the video and answering questions that pop up, doing a Google Slides activity, and doing the problem set within Google Forms. Remember from yesterday that standard form is how we generally see numbers in everyday life. Some examples of standard form would be 12, 28 and 5/10, and 136 and 4/100. We're going to start by comparing whole numbers. We have 28,146 compared to 28,346. We're going to start by having our place value chart. Now we're going to insert each of those numbers into the place value chart. When we're comparing numbers, we want to start by comparing the biggest place value. So in this case, 10,000's place is the biggest place value. So we're going to start by comparing the 2's in 10,000s. Both numbers have a 2 in the 10,000s place, so we can move on to the next place value. The next place value would be the thousands place. Both numbers also have 8s in the thousands place, so we're going to move on to the hundreds. Here we see that there are different numbers. In the first number, there's 100, and in the second number, there's 300s. 300s is bigger than 100, so 28,346 is our bigger number. Notice that the symbol that appeared opens up to the bigger number. If it helps, you can think of an alligator is going to eat the bigger amount, so you want to have the sign opening up to the bigger number. Let's continue by comparing decimals. We're going to start by having our place value chart and inserting the numbers 3 and 4/10 and 3 and 5/10. In these numbers, our biggest place value is the ones place. So we're going to start comparing the 3's in the ones place. Both numbers have a 3 in the ones place, so we're going to move on to the tenths place. In the first number, there's a 4 in the tenths place, and in the second number, there's a 5 in the tenths place. 5/10 is bigger than 4/10, so 3 and 5/10 is bigger than 3 and 4/10. Notice the sign is opening up to the bigger number. Let's continue comparing decimals. We're going to start by having our place value chart and inserting our numbers into the place value chart. The ones is once again the biggest place value, so we're going to start comparing the ones place. In both numbers, there is a 1 in the ones place, so we're going to move on to the tenths place. In our first number, there's 5/10, and in our second number, there's 0/10. 5/10 is bigger than 0/10, so 1 and 5/10 is our bigger number. Here we have 16 and 2/10 compared to 16 and 20/100. We're going to put both numbers into the place value chart. Start by comparing the biggest place value, which is the tens place. In both numbers, there's a 1 in the tens place, so we're going to move on to the ones place. Once again, both numbers have the same number in the ones place, so we're going to move to the tenths. In the tenths place, we have 2/10 in both numbers, so we're going to move to the hundredths. Notice in the first number, there aren't any hundredths. That just means that there's 0 hundredths, so we can represent that by putting a 0 in the hundredths place. Now we can compare the hundredths. Notice that both numbers have 0 in the hundredths place. So now that we're out of digits, we can see that both of these numbers are equal to each other. Let's try ordering these numbers from least to greatest. Remember that least means the smallest number and greatest is the biggest. We're going to start by comparing the biggest place value. In all three cases, or all three numbers, the biggest place value is the ones place. We can see that there is 6 in all ones places, so we're going to move on to the tenths place. Notice here we have 4 in the tenths place here, a 0 in the tenths place, and a 0 in the tenths place. We can see the 4 is different in the tenths place compared to the 0. So we know this 4/10 is bigger than 0/10. That's going to be our biggest number. So we're going to put it on the greatest side. We're going to compare the hundredths place now. Notice in this number here, we have 4/100, but in our last number, we have 0/100. 4/100 is bigger than 0/100, so 6 and 4/100 is going to go in the middle, leaving 6 and 4,000 to be our smallest number. Finally, let's compare these numbers going from greatest to least. So that means we're starting with our biggest number and going to our smallest. Once again, we're going to start with our biggest place value, which is our ones place. We have 2, 2, and 3 in our ones place. 3 is the biggest number in the ones place, so the 3 and 1/10 is going on the greatest side. We're going to compare the tenths place now. We have 4/10 compared to 3/10. 4 tenths is bigger, so 2 and 4 tenths is going to go in the center, leaving 2 and 36 hundredths to be our least number.